Beyond belief, fact or fiction. We live in a world where the real and the unreal live side by side, but probably don't like each other very much. Where reality and fantasy are both genres of TV show, and all the answers are questionable. Can you suss out the truth from the lies? To do so, you must break your brain and open your mind to a lot of stuff that is beyond belief. Fact and fiction, they both start with the letter F, but their similarities end there. Just like this strange image of two gnomes intensely staring at each other as one is held at knife point. Or, should I say, that you were actually being held at knife point, and this gangster is flipping you the bird as he holds a wad of your cash. Both the gnome and gangster have a knife, but their similarities end there. The stories I have for you tonight toy with the lines of reality and fantasy as if they were some sort of smug anime girl teasing a male protagonist. But are you going to let them toy with you? Be careful. If you think you know which stories are true, they could really be taking you for all you're worth. I will tell you at the end of this episode which stories were true and which ones made a complete joke out of you. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction is a supernatural anthology show, with the gimmick being that a couple of the stories are based on actual events, and it is your job to determine which are true and which are false. It's hosted by Jonathan Frakes, also known as Riker on Star Trek The Next Generation. Its first season premiered in 1997, which was hosted by James Brolin, but once season 2 hit, dear Riker took the helm and never looked back. Well, until 2002 and the show got canned. Imagine my surprise when I did research for this video and saw it got revived in Germany back in 2021 for an exclusive season meant just for them. Those lucky ducks. Over there it's called X Factor, the Unfathomable, which I'm not as partial to.
X-Faktor, das Unfassbare.
I adored this show as a kid. I thought Frakes was a cool dude, I loved his style, and the overall atmosphere of the show. The beginning of every episode felt like you were the guest at some eccentric guy's creepy vampire manor as he challenged you to tell reality from fantasy while also telling you 5 intriguing stories. They can range from spoopy to dramatic and even comedic. The tales would usually involve supernatural elements with things like ghosts, monsters, and psychics. Despite all the stories having some sort of extraordinary dealings, to help keep you guessing which one was fact and which one was fiction. The writers sometimes would have more down-to-earth segments, but weave a tale of crazy coincidences, improbable events, and hopeful happenings. Wait, did I just say the same thing in 3 different ways? Imagine how boring the gimmick would get if the writers made all the fiction stories so totally out there that you could always separate them out. They did a quality job hiding the fakes in with the ones based on true events. And also, when I say based on true events, I really emphasize based. Even the true ones are very embellished and based on very little in actual reality. Some trivia on IMDb claims that sometimes all was needed was a newspaper headline to make a complete story and claim it as fact. I don't know how factual that trivia is, however, but it seems believable. Each episode would begin by panning down from this old chandelier. Then Jonathan Frakes would enter where I suppose we were waiting for him. After entering, he would immediately begin with cryptic banter, always relating to the nature of fact and fiction, fantasy and reality, truth and lies, or anything along those lines.
Be careful what you choose to believe, because the man who seems to be telling the truth may actually turn out to be a liar.
Then he would show a simple optical illusion and make a quippy remark just like he totally fooled you.
They're both exactly the same size. Remember this when you determine whether our stories are true or false.
Further cryptic banter would ensue as he introduced the stories, usually with a major prop from the upcoming segment. Like, if there was a waifu body pillow possessed by a demon, he might have the pillow with him as he spoke about it. He always would have a ton of crap set up to show off too. He must be a hoarder of some sort. The stories are just an excuse to buy non-stop from garage sales. As you can guess from the intro I did, after the 5 stories are finished, Frakes unveils which are fact and which are fiction, as you yell at the TV in disbelief. For this special Halloween episode of Beyond the Lounge, Truth or Fakies, I have assembled 5 stunning stories that struck a chord with me for different reasons. Can you spot the wolves hiding among the sheep? Or will the wool be thrown over your eyes? First up, a most seasonal story, Halloween. Harold Ratchet is a regular Halloween Grinch who hates trick-or-treaters.
Have to expect some children coming over.
Yeah, with their greedy hands out, playing tricks on anybody who doesn't give in to their extortion.
So instead of turning off his porch lights to keep trick-or-treaters away, he lets his wife kindly hand out candy while he chases kids with an actual meat cleaver, like a madman. I'm sensing a lawsuit here.
Playing by the rules? Halloween's a two-way street. They wear scary costumes, so can I.
Dude, that one kid is just dressed as a clown. Not the scary kind either. He meets his match though. When he answers the door to a stoic stranger dressed as the Grim Reaper. How spooky. His wife laughs and hands the unusually tall kid some candy.
Well, we won't get any more trick-or-treaters tonight.
Then a storm starts to brew. Later that evening, a knock at the door surprises overalls as he's reading in monster makeup. So he grabs the cleaver to frighten the trick-or-treater, but instead sees this. But when his wife checks, she sees this. Is this a ghost of some sort? Or has the scary time Scrooge lost it?
I don't know what you're getting yourself all worked up about, but I'm going to bed before you do the same to me.
When Harold's wife gets to sleeping, the Reaper gets to creeping and sends a major fright into the old man, leaving him to have a heart attack.
He's shaking. Can hardly breathe. Please hurry.
But karma is a bitch, and it turns out the bridge necessary to get to their house has been washed away by the storm. Does this mean that Harold is gonna die? Maybe this jack-o'-lantern is a sign of things to come. Halloween is the second segment of Season 3, Episode 9. I included this one, well, because it's Halloween time, and I just couldn't leave it out. It is a short and sweet thriller that is low-level creepy, but high-level fun. Harold is just crotchety enough that you want to see him get taught a lesson. It has all the beats of a fun slasher movie too, sans the actual slashing. Unless you count this jack-o'-lantern as a victim. There is enough mystery in it too, so that I'm left with more questions than answers. Like, was that actually the Grim Reaper out to get him? Was it all in Harold's head? Did his wife set everything up? And how in the hell did Harold manage to get a wife like her? Halloween is just right for this time of year. The second story tonight is called Morning Sickness. Uh-oh. Marissa is a young woman who has been spewing her guts out every morning for 3 weeks. It seems she might have a bun in the oven, and that is also what her parents think.
Glenn, we both know what it is. We just don't want to face it.
But Marissa is firm that she hasn't been involved with her boyfriend.
I'm not pregnant.
Her condition continues and she develops a strange craving and an appetite as big as mine on a lonely Saturday night. Then it happens. The dreaded baby bump. Marissa takes a pregnancy test only to come up negative. So concerned and confused, she goes to see the doctor and he finds a strange cyst inside her. A cyst that she insists is moving.
What about the movement I was feeling?
No. I hate things like that. During surgery to remove the cyst, it is discovered that she wasn't carrying a lump, but rather sushi.
It's a baby octopus.
It is speculated that she ingested a fertilized octopus egg while on one of her many summer diving trips. Morning Sickness is the first segment of Season 3, Episode 1. This one freaks me out, which is why I included it. I hate parasites or things similar to that, and this hits that mark. It's grody, but makes for an interesting story. One that could be easily seen as an urban legend that spreads online, which is what makes this one so neat. There wasn't a lot of intrigue in the overall telling of the story. It just seems like an extended version of, oh, did you hear about that woman who gave birth to an octopus? Maybe mentioning or even showing Marissa going on a dive at the beginning would have helped add to the mystery so that we can establish that something stems from that event, rather than offhandedly mentioning it at the end.
Marissa had been spending a lot of time swimming in the ocean that summer. She must have swallowed a fertilized octopus egg.
The story comes off more like the mystery of the negative pregnancy test. Sure, those things can be accurate, but sometimes they can be defective. I'd say Morning Sickness was decent enough, but maybe needed a little work. Next up is one that is sure to give you a chill. Screwdriver. We open with two parents saying their goodbyes to their son Lauren, a forgetful man headed off to college. He nearly drives off without his toolbox, for Vlad's sake. Oh, wait, now he's going off without his suitcase. Damn it, Lauren. Months later, we see his father trying to fix his carburetor with a screwdriver, but he is having a tough time because Lauren isn't there to help him. He misses his son and wishes he was there. That night, we do spot Lauren as his car breaks down.
It's gotta be the carburetor.
No problemo. Lauren has his trusty tool, oh yeah.
Can't believe this. I forgot my toolbox.
This guy's trait is being forgetful. Now the guy is stranded, and to make matters worse, the temperature is dropping dangerously low and fast. So Lauren hunkers down in his car, shivering, waiting for the icy chill of death's hand to touch him. But before things get too bad, a mysterious stranger walks up to his car and starts working on it. Wait, no, that guy isn't mysterious. That's his father. I'm getting more chills than Lauren right now. The apparition vanishes before Lauren can talk to him. He successfully starts his car and drives to safety. Later, he reports the incident to his mother, and she is glad that he is safe.
And then, I was freezing out here, and I thought I saw this guy who looked just like Dad. He was fixing my carburetor.
But the real goosebumps begin when his parents notice the grease in their bed and a screwdriver mysteriously resting between them. Screwdriver is the 4th segment of Season 3, Episode 12. Ooh, this one always gives me goosebumps. It's not scary, it's just bizarre and heartwarming. I like the story. It's mostly mundane, and then bam, it hits you with one spectacular occurrence that makes you question everything. The faces on the parents as they begin to connect the dots of the oil, screwdriver, and their son's story is perfect too. Shock and confusion. You can also try to reason that maybe the dad may have been sleepwalking around his basement while his son was saved by a look-alike. It's right on the cusp of supernatural and extreme coincidence. The story is further tied together with bits of foreshadowing, such as the dad working on a carburetor with the screwdriver, and mentions that he is tied to his son.
I guess I didn't know how truly connected I was to my son.
Screwdriver is a solid story. Alright, let's move on to our next story, Magic Mightyman. Lenny Fields is a comedy writer who jogs through the park every day and visits his friend Gloria, a homeless woman who resides near there. During one of his many jogging trips, he encounters a couple of guys who are up to no good. They started making trouble in the forest hood. Okay, I thought I could make it work, but I couldn't. Anyway, they mug Lenny and leave him locked in a cage in the park. Luckily, Gloria finds him and lends him something special from her shopping cart of secrets. A discarded Halloween costume. There's Halloween again. He dons the Big M and becomes Mightyman. Later, he encounters the 2 goons again, and they try for a repeat mugging. But the powers of Mightyman flow through Lenny now, and he throws them aside like yesterday's trash. Then he takes back everything stolen from him, except his tracksuit for some reason. But earlier he did claim it was on sale.
I got it on sale at that sporting goods store just before you get to the park, or right on the corner there.
So maybe he just wants to buy another. The day is saved by Mightyman, and he goes to grab some food with Gloria. Mightyman is the 2nd segment of Season 2, Episode 6. I always thought this one was really unusual. It stands out as an extra weird story, which is why I thought I would mention it. There are comical stories in Beyond Belief, but this one ramps it up just a little more. I watch a show more to see strange mysteries, unbelievable twists, and the occasional monster. Not a goofy man getting stripped by goofy thugs.
Help! I'm being pants! Help!
Than having him run around in a dime store Superman costume. It also has some of the corniest banner ever.
You were right. This outfit is my color. I'm starting to feel like Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes.
This time, we're taking your underwear.
It's not a bad story. It's cheesy AF, but a little cheese never hurt anyone. Also this. That scream is so comical that it does make me chuckle a bit. I'm reminded of Daniel Stern's Marv from Home Alone. Magic Mightyman is okay, but I kind of think it was included for the younger audiences of the show. At last, we reach the final story of the night, and this is one quite special, but I'll get to that in a bit. Let's take a look at The Getaway. Diane Lerner is a woman in need of a getaway. She took a break from her Seattle job to go to a cabin in the woods for some R&R. As she drives to the wooded retreat, her water bottle rolls onto the floor, and for some reason she thinks it's a good idea to reach for it while driving. Of course, this almost gets her into an accident, and she almost rams headfirst into a giant boulder. But she swerves out of the way last minute and arrives safely to the cabin. Holy shit!
Oh, God. I didn't expect someone to be here.
I didn't know anyone was there.
I'm Mrs. James.
Mrs. James, what the frickin' hell? Please, leave Mrs. James, please. Jeez, oh, okay. Diane settles into the cabin somehow, but begins hearing creepy kid laughter. A sure sign of a textbook haunting. Might want to pack up and go, but she doesn't. As her stay goes on, she starts seeing little kids playing near the cabin, and they are beckoning to her.
Ma'am, I want you all to go home now.
She yells for them to leave, since she just wants some peace and quiet, which I can totally understand. When Diane mentions the many little gremlins playing around the cottage,
People who live close by have children who've grown up and moved out of the house. Really?
Mrs. James confirms to her that there are no kids nearby. So, what is really going on here? A couple of days pass, and she works on more of her work, and then the truth is uncovered. One morning, one of the children urges Diane to read the paper, so she takes a peek at it and goes with the kids who are calling her. Mrs. James sees her as she leaves, and then this happens. What do you know? She was dead the entire time. The Getaway is the third segment of Season 2, Episode 3, and it also gives me chills at that final twist reveal. It's not really a twist that's hard to guess, I just like how it's executed. Also, Mrs. James and her freaking jump scare. That got me. Get out of here, Mrs. James. The uneasy atmosphere, isolated setting, and unusual occurrences are the ingredients for a great, fun-sized horror story. I'm personally not a fan of the creepy kids trope, but I'll let it slide. The twist may be pretty obvious, but the question of why the kids are there to help her past persists until the end of the story, when we finally see that the school bus apparently crashed as well. So I'm guessing it either wasn't a full school bus or only a couple of the kids died. I think that having Diane, instead of almost hitting a boulder, should have almost hit a school bus to tie their deaths together, rather than it just being an occurrence that happened at the same time. That really feels like a missed opportunity. Other than that, the Getaway is pretty cool. So, I did mention earlier that this story is special, and it is. Basically, when I was a kid, I saw this episode and it stuck with me. I found it spooky and I liked the twist. It always stuck in my mind and I could remember it very well. At least, I thought I could. Because when I rewatched this episode, I swore that I was experiencing a personal Mandela effect. As a kid, I distinctly remember Diane being a blonde white woman that was really snarky, very Karen-like. Also, she didn't hit a boulder. She reached for her bottle and almost had a head-on collision with a semi-truck. I even remembering it honking and having footage of a semi driving towards the screen. She swerves out of the way just the same, but then she arrives at a luxury hotel, not a cottage. From there on, she continues to stay and do her work, while feeling a bit odd and not knowing what exactly is wrong. There are no kids in it at all, and no creepy laughter from them either. And lastly, when she is in the bubble bath, she's talking to her coworker from the beginning of the story, and she reaches for the newspaper and reads the headline showing that she died. And that's when she tells her coworker that she needs to go now, and goes off into the afterlife, while you can hear the coworker on the phone asking her what's wrong, and that's when it ends. When I saw this segment with my friend for the first time in like 20 years, I kept pausing the video being like, no, that's not right. That's not right. I even told him about the episode before we actually watched it. Every other story that I recalled from my childhood was spot on. This one was the only one that was totally different. I'll tell you this, it's kinda freaky. Do I believe in Mandela effects? No. But I do believe I probably am misremembering grossly. But who knows? Maybe one of you out there remembers the exact same segment that I'm remembering. And maybe it is a Mandela effect. Alrighty, with our 5 stories out of the way, it's time to reveal which are fact and which are fiction. Halloween, the story with a cranky old man picking on kids until the Grim Reaper picks on him. If you guessed fact, then you would be horribly wrong. Shame on you. Shame on you if you picked fact. Morning sickness, the freaky story that belongs in a tentacle hentai. If you guessed fiction, well, you are correct. Golf claps for you. Mini golf claps for you. Screwdriver, the chilling yet heartwarming tale of a father looking out for his son. If you guessed fact, then what are you thinking? Go sit in the corner. Now, Magic Mightyman, the quirky story of a loser jogger turned into a hero incarnate by a shredded costume. If you guessed fiction, then congratulations, you aren't stupid. Wait, did that say fact? Really? That one's fact? Wow, okay. And lastly, The Getaway, a story that is possibly a Mandela effect that no one knows of yet. If you guessed fact, you fool. You should feel very, very bad about yourself. Alright, that's all I have for you tonight, and I hope you enjoyed my silly beyond belief fact or fiction Halloween episode. It's a great show that is totes worth watching if you want some bite-sized thrillers and horror. That evil company that I dislike, Amazon, is streaming it on Prime at the time of this video too. So go check it out if you want. But please, before you go, consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment below. And if you want more Halloween content, consider watching last year's episode on Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. Baki, my rarely mentioned co-host, is in on that one. It was great chillin' with you, and I hope you return to the Rerun Lounge.